sales agent, but he said it to me. He's like, yo, man, when you got a deal that Universal has tens of millions of dollars a week, and they come and say, pull the screen, we're putting Bad Boys, even though they have 5 screens already, the theaters have to listen. They have to, because we don't have we're not putting 10 movies, 6 movies a year into the marketplace.
So Josh,
so we got mafia, we got strong armed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but let's. Not everybody has Rumble. I don't have Rumble.
No, I know.
Everybody watches shit on TV. Everybody watches.
I know that, and I don't expect the fact that we've already got. Look, I'm keeping this between our inner circle right now. The 3 major guys already reached out. The 3 majors are already interested, and they want to talk. They want to talk next week. So.
All right, so Josh, I'm gonna.
Yeah, the other thing is, like, my opinion is the sooner the better, because if this thing just drags out in a couple of theaters for another week or so, critics are just going to be bored. They're going to be like, this movie sucks. Look what happened. It didn't hit the theaters.
I took the first meeting opportunity. They reached out and said, when you guys
it's hot already. It's hot now. We're getting good comments and everything.
Yeah.
Like, keep the fire going.
Well, my guy Heath, what I was going to tell you, he has a marketing firm that we used. That's how I know this thing got into people's hands. That we use to promote. And he's like, Josh, let's say Netflix is the one. We're going to do a release for you guys, because I'll do it just because we're in bed together for nothing. Because we're going to do a release that's going to be like a movie release for Netflix. He's like, we're going to re-release it, and hit even more now. And the streaming will be different, because streaming is for lazy fucks. That's it. Pretty simple.
Well, those are the fucks that we want to hit, and now we'll get them off the couch once they see the fucking movie.
But I still challenge. That's why I'm doing all these. We're doing a few today, a few tomorrow, a few. I challenge. I want to see an uprising. I want to see these patriots, these so-called American patriots. I mean, these are the same guys that you blame. Let this happen, Scott. These are the same guys that you said it's our fault for letting this happen.
Yeah.
Let me ask. You guys
hear
me?
We can't hear you yet.
Okay, they can't hear me. They still can't hear me.
They still can't hear you?
Yeah.
They should be able to hear you.
It's a mute thing. It's a mutiny.
You might just be muted. But hey, we may not need you. Just let us talk. It's three Italians.
Yeah, record all this. You want to get 3 Italians fucking sitting, one in Brooklyn, one in Staten Island, one in Los Angeles. It sounds like a fucking joke.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, you can hear me now. All right. All right, we start the show over again for the fourth fit. Thanks, Jim. So Jim White, Northwest Liberty News. It's Valley Broadcasting Network. FlatheadValleyTruth.com is our live stream. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just updated my video drivers. That's why I'm having so much problem. It's true. I just did it today, and I haven't tested it yet.
He's just updated his video driver, so that's why we had these technical difficulties. Okay, so Chris Martini. Chris, you've got producer Joshua Macciello, right, Josh?
That's right, Ian. Thank you.
And Scott LoBaido. And Scott, you gave listeners and viewers a slight rundown of what kind of drove this activism from you 30 years ago. And look, I go back, and after I saw the movie, I'm looking at some of these art pieces you've done. I'm like, oh my God, I've seen that movie. I've seen that. The one with what's his face ripping out the heart of the Statue of Liberty, Mr. Kami himself. Who changed his name, right? The former mayor of New York. He's got a different name. He has a couple different names. Yeah, not Cuomo, the former
Blasio.
mayor. Yeah, de Blasio. It's Wilhelm, I think, is his name. It's like a German name or something like that. But anyway, so I didn't realize that was you as the artist, and I was real happy and excited to see that, see the face and the name. But let's go back a little bit, and we caught a little bit about what you were talking about with streaming and in theaters and that sort of thing. I personally took two handfuls of friends and close confidants to the movie, the debut on Thursday. People are energized, and I want to get some of the feedback and what you're hearing. I mean, we've got a whole separate group here in Montana. My show's initially based out of Florida, but I've been in Montana doing some writing, since it's kind of removed from the hustle and bustle, so to speak, but not so much, because a lot of people are moving into Montana. But the point here I want to get at is what you've put together, Chris. What you have put together, and the three of you put together, is generating people to step forward. And we've got like a whole other group of people coming together to tackle voter fraud in Montana. But Chris, please reintroduce these two guys, and this time just kind of thread the needle on how you got involved with these guys.
Okay, so I was shooting a conservative series during the pandemic. Everything was really bothering me, what was happening. I've been a Republican for a very long time, but during the pandemic, I just decided to speak out and start, voicing my opinion. And I started shooting this documentary series, and I just wanted to explore the core things that this country is built on, that my grandfather fought for in World War II. So I live in liberal Park Slope, Brooklyn, and but my landlord is a hardcore conservative Trump supporter who lives in Staten Island. He said, you have to go visit and interview Scott LoBaido. So I went to Scott's studio and I shot a 3-hour interview, and Scott had me laughing, crying, angry, everything. And I realized that with this man, with Scott LoBaido, who's been doing this for 30 years as a patriot artist and activist in New York, of all places, that by telling his story, I could tell everything that I wanted to explore: veterans, military, everything, our flag. So I did it. And so, I shot this, 5 years ago. And only now did God bring us to this man below, Joshua Macciello with Global Ascension Studios. So I have a friend named Barry Morgenstein. He's a conservative headshot photographer who introduced me to our producer, who's now our producer, Frank Torcha, who introduced me to Josh Macciello and Global Ascension Studios. And, basically, Josh was the one who had the drive and the patriotism to bring this film to the masses. And I'm still amazed at what Josh has been able to do. He got our film in 1,000 theaters across the country. And we're not even done. We still have streaming to go, but we're trying to keep this theatrical run going. I'm just really excited to get Scott's film out to the public. We become friends, and I've been with Scott for a long time, and now I have this great friend in Josh who's doing this for our film. I'll let Josh speak now.
Josh, go for it, man.
Yeah, Frank Torcha for a month annoyed the shit out of me to take a look at this project. I was so busy and overwhelmed. And then when I finally watched the trailer, as I probably can say, I'm over under, I probably watched the trailer 5,000 times. One day in New York, we watched it 1,000 times, but 5,000 times overall. And I still get goosebumps. It's a very exciting, uplifting, and makes you want to go out, grab a bat, and just start hurting people to make this country better again. I met Scott, got on the phone, and felt the energy through the phone. After seeing the trailer, I then watched the movie and immediately knew that we had something special on our hand that the country needed to see. I have no regrets in life. I'm getting a lot of slack from one of my inner circle partners here in Global Ascension to, why would you guys release it, in such a busy time of the year and all this and that.
It's Flag Day, right?
It's not we did it on Trump's birthday, and we did it on Flag Day. Mm-hmm. And there was, no matter what anybody tells me, there was no better time to release this. We just needed lazy ass Americans to get off their ass who believe in this country and go see the movie. And we only had a short window to do so. Had everybody done what they were supposed to on Thursday and Friday, everything else is moot. And we're not sitting here telling people, get your asses out there and see the movie. Now we have today, tomorrow, Thursday for patriots to step up and go see the movie. Because what can happen with this movement, which has happened to films before, some big blockbuster films had a slow takeoff, and then got a little bit, theaters diminished a little bit, and then all of a sudden got re-released into the masses because the people spoke. And what we want is the people to speak, because not because I got a lot of money in this, 7 figures, not because I'm going to make a lot of money. That's not the point. The point is this is going to teach. This is a hand guide told by a real person on how screwed up everything is in our country. A person who was raised by liberal, in a liberal family that became conservative and saw, through being an artist, he was able to see into the future of what the country was getting ready to become. Mm-hmm. And that's, and he, by the way, I hate giving him credit because he's an Aries like me. He's a ball buster, but the guy's kind of funny, kind of talented. If he wasn't an activist, he would probably be a good actor and could be on TV, but he's too damn real to do it. But he can sing a little bit too. So, he's like a 5-star tool person that when you see somebody, and by the way, the man, I know this because I'm around people in this world. The man could have easily sold out and made 6 and 7 figures selling his art and not needed any of us. Just like Donald Trump could have said, I don't need you guys. I'm a billionaire. I can play golf. I can roll out. Same kind of mentality. I myself will pat myself on the back. I put projects with huge stars on the back burner because this was important. This is a movement and it's important. And you know what? We needed a punch in the mouth. We needed to meet guys like you, Ian. We needed to meet, guys like Scott McKay. We needed to meet guys that are on the ground soldier patriots that are every day fighting to basically wake up the masses, to say, hey, there's a project here. It's going to spark you in the ass and wake you up a little bit. Let's go. So, and I'm sorry I'm stumbling on so long, but I'm really disappointed. Texas, the state of Texas, I may not go back there again. Really? I used to love Texas, but they didn't show up the way they were supposed to. I'm really disappointed in that red state. Arizona, some parts were good, some parts I'm disgusted with. And we knew that from election day. But we need to see movement. This is a call to action. I'm challenging you guys. You guys are spending $10 a month on apps, on this, on that, on your phone. Go buy a ticket to the movie and then buy your friend a ticket to the movie. And I guarantee you, not because these guys are in it, Chris made it, and I produced it, it's going to be one of the best movies you ever seen, especially if you're a red, white, and blue patriot.
Yeah.
And can I just jump in? Can I just jump in on that, Ian? I'm sorry, but it is not about us. Like, okay, the movie itself is getting standing ovations. And if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, we went up to 98%. There's hundreds upon hundreds of reviews of people that are saying this is the best documentary they've ever seen. They laughed, they cried, everything. So the people want it. The people have spoken, and we have this gigantic machine that does not want this in there, and that's what we're fighting. And beyond our movie, this is about changing American culture. Because if you sit at home and you're not happy with the stuff that you're getting on your TV, that Hollywood is sending us, you can't complain if you're not going to support conservative films like this. So this is also about, I have a 3-year-old and I have another kid coming, and I'm disgusted by the stuff that I see. It makes me feel violated that these people with bad values are pushing this onto us, and we have no other options. So in order to change our culture, we have to support not only this film but the next one. But you're not going to see the next one if you don't support this one.
Yeah, well said, Chris. Scott, what is your and I've got some people that know you personally. I've got people that have heard of you. What are you finding? And by the way, thank you all 3 of you men for doing what you've done. Scott, what are you finding there in Staten Island? What's the reaction? to the release of the movie. Of course, people I'm sure are familiar with your work in Staten Island there. But what's your view of what's happening in the aftermath of the release? Go ahead. And by the way, folks, people are buying out entire theaters. I got that from you earlier, Chris. People are buying entire movie theaters out and just handing tickets out to passerbyers in front. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, well, it's being tremendously received here in my community, and it better because this is my community. I've been fighting for 30 years. We do a lot. I do a lot here in Staten Island, not just patriotically, but I was the leader of, with a bunch of other people, I was the leader of shutting down 3 illegal alien shelters here that were inappropriately positioned next to schools with children and so on. So yeah, no, Staten Island is coming out in droves to the theater, to the one theater it's left is showing. And it's funny because there's people that know me my whole life that have watched this movie and are like, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you did this. I didn't know, and so it's good. And not only there's so much of my protest stunts that are in there, my arrests, I get to explain why I did them. Because when you do stuff and you're in the media, it's New York City, most liberal, they shred you to pieces. Oh, this guy's a hack. He did this because he hates art and he hates this. And there's a story. You get to see why I did these things. And I went to central booking for a weekend, which is not pretty because I believed in something and I did something, being the voice of those who can't be a voice. But I want to continue what Chris was talking about. What I want to come out of this movie is two things. And I know people have seen it already. People are like, I was a patriot, but I'm going to be 10 times more. I'm going to get involved. Now I know what to do. My job has always been to wake people up, whether I need you to get in the street and, fight against this illegal alien thing, or the speed cameras that are sucking up your hardworking money, which is bullshit, and so on and so on. And people are finally coming out and fighting for themselves using Amendment 1, not 2. No violence is necessary. All of these crazy things I've done and I get arrested for in this movie, there's no violence. Nothing is destroyed. Even when I poured the fake blood in front of the DA's office and got arrested and made a big statement, it was children's washable paint. So I'm not, I know what I'm doing. I know the repercussions. I know the what's going to happen. Am I going to destroy the environment? And then you have these radical protests on the left who are screaming and beating and burning flags to save the two-headed spotted owl, but yet they're using permanent spray paint and really destroying and being violent. So I want people to come out saying, okay, I have a calling too now. It might be to loan your pickup truck for one of our protests. It might be, you know what? I'm not happy that the teachers in my son's school, who's 6 years old, are teaching him that it's okay to have a sex change at 6 years old. Instead of on my keyboard saying, this is bad. Get off your ass and go to that school. Take 50 people from your community, even if they don't have kids, and go to that school. Hello, that you fucking own. You own that school. Your tax, your hardworking money owns that school that's teaching your kid what you don't want them to teach. So it is your job to get in the face of that school and say, no fucking way. You're not teaching my kid this. That's one example. I want people to come out, and they're going to come out, whether they need to put their flag in front of the house that they never did, and they say they're so patriotic. That's a symbol that shows the other side that we're not giving up. And then the second part about what I want people to take away from this movie, and what, as an artist, my whole life, I do have liberal tendencies. I'm a fucking artist. I'm a free-loving eagle soaring. Nobody tells me what to do, what to paint, where to go. I do have a lot of tendencies. I believe in a lot of social liberal issues, believe it or not. But I'm a man of, common sense. So we are in a position where this movie can change the dynamic of not only the theaters or Hollywood, what they put on TV, but the art galleries, the artists like me. We see the musicians that are finally coming around. There's millions of conservative creatives that are in the fucking closet. Mm-hmm. And here's their opportunity. I know I've been hearing it from liberal artists that said, I don't like your politics, but this movie is about an artist, a different kind of artist. That's what art is supposed to be. It is supposed to be embraced on both sides. That's what this movie is going to do. Those two things. Wake people up at the 11th hour because we're fucked at 12 o'clock unless you people wake up and we could get the creative community back in the arts.
So let me just mention this. Italians, by and large, built this country. And based off of the three of you, I will say that Italians are going to be pivotal and key in making America great again and building this country back. I wrote a review that said something very similar to what you're saying, Scott, is that your movie, gentlemen, your movie activates, it ignites people to go out and want to be a better person and a better lover of the country. The woman sitting to my right in the movie theater reaches over to me and says, we got to step up our game after looking at the things that you have done. You were able to convey that beautifully, Chris, through your directing and your compiling here. But Josh, you mentioned something about this inner circle that you're working with. What are you seeing in Hollywood? Because the conservative movement and certainly Trump supporters are getting painted in such a wild array. I mean, people like Mel Gibson. I'm on the phone yesterday with somebody that's there's something called libertarians for. And by the way, the word liberty, David Icke said there's nothing more liberating than the U.S. Constitution. So weaponizing vocabulary. But Friends of Abe, I think, was a group in Hollywood that were meeting during the Trump administration. There's now another group meeting in Hollywood, and these are the conservatives that get blackballed or afraid to get blackballed. What are you seeing, Josh? What are you seeing happening in Hollywood? And of course, you're being opposed in your inner circle. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, we honestly don't care what anybody in Hollywood thinks.
Nice.
We have our own money. We've shown to if I can get distribution, let me tell you guys something. And if I can get distribution in over 500 screens with this movie, that shows that there's a chance. There's a chance, but how long? As Chris says, if we don't show performance, then it's not going to work. So are there people in Scott's words, the closet here, that support what we stand for and support Donald Trump in secret, but won't say it out loud? I know a lot of very highly famous people that absolutely 100% support Donald Trump and just won't come say it because they're scared to lose their job. Because the agencies have programmed them to basically say, if you follow this, then you don't work no more. So we are now starting to meet with all of those people. We're meeting with all of the folks who basically were blackballed, blacklisted, not able to work no more. We met with the one from Sopranos, Dre DiMatteo. She was at our premiere. Scott knows her and brought her to the premiere. She says, I'm a crazy.
Was that Mar-a-Lago?
No. She was at the premiere in New York this past Wednesday, and she basically loved the movie, loved what it stood for, loved the message. Said she was a stargent, crazy liberal, but loved everything she saw. So you have a lot of folks like this that are starting to come out and really open their eyes and wake up. And quite frankly, I'm going to force Hollywood to do so. I told Dan Ball in an interview at Mar-a-Lago, I said, we are the change. We are what's going to make media change. We have a lot of money, big pockets behind us, and they're conservatives who finally stepped up. Because I'll tell you, for a long time, it really hurt me that the liberals were better at what they did than what the conservatives were. They could be bad better than we could be good. And that's why we're in this mess. And for us, we got to do it now. This movie is the match. It's the that gets things going. We need this now. Otherwise, we're fucked.
Scott, are you seeing them? Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say that I see right now we're still in theaters. We have a chance this week. If people listening to this can go see this film this week, like today, like tonight, tomorrow, the next day, we have this very special window, and I see it as symbolic because COVID shut everybody in their living room, and now everyone's just happy staying at home, and that's ridiculous. That is not what freedom is, right? So now we're programmed to think that it's okay to stay at home. You can get all your groceries here. You can watch whatever you want. This is a symbolic opportunity that if people can take action to get out of the house, to see a man who's lived his life using action to change this country, then we will get people out to vote. And we will change this country. I mean, I see it as this like 3-window symbolic thing. We got to get out.
What is Scott? You've been in all 50 states a number of times, probably each state, and you've painted these incredible flags. How long have you realized that the deep state, and what is the deep state? The deep state is attacking. It sounds like in regards to viewing the Relentless Patriot, 9/11 flipped a massive trigger. But you were doing your activism before 9/11. Where were you? What initially flipped that switch within you, Scott, that says I've got to attack the deep state? There is a deep state. I got to attack it. And attacking it through me is, like you said, is the Second Amendment, not the First Amendment. So there's no violence. And that's another comment that was made to me, is that you've done all this with no violence. Yet you're going to get arrested and you're getting trashed left and right. But you're beautifying communities.
Look, I gave up on blaming the radical left. Here's what happened, in my opinion, is we are a nation of balance. I'm a man of balance. If the conservatives were destroying this country like the radical left is, I would be doing the same exact thing, brother, for the left,
right?
To keep the balance. Okay, people need to understand that. That's all I want, is balance in this fucking world, in this country. We are always supposed to be at each other a little bit. That's the beauty, the discourse. I don't hang out with all conservative people. I hang out with liberal friends, not nut jobs, but people with different opinions. Socialist. I love that. But the radical left, like the 70s, we were a little more liberal. Then the 80s, we went this way, a little more conservative. But if you see, my hands are in the screen, and then the radical left took it to the moon and fucked it all up. Now, we could blame those folks in the deep state. We could blame George Soros like we did. And we could blame the liberals and the politicians, from Biden down to the jerk-off mayor of my city. No. It's our fucking fault, bro. It's our fault because we allowed that to happen. Why? Just what, Chris said. But I go deeper. Milk and honey. We have the most delicious milk and honey in this country. And everybody's sucking it up, as we should. Go into a supermarket. Got 18 variations of milk, and so on and so on. And we get all this delicious milk and honey. And I suck it up every day, but I always realize that it could be pulled right from underneath us. Mm-hmm. Not from an enemy without, but from an enemy right here. We let this fucking happen. So when I'm giving my tough love, and people are like, oh, why are you yelling at me? I'm on your side. You're not on my side if you're not fucking doing anything. You don't have to throw paint or get bloodied up or get arrested or get your head cracked open like I get cracked on, my car destroyed because I'm out there. You don't have to do. It's very simple. Action. Something everybody in you, Ian, you're doing your part right there. Sitting in front of that microphone, spewing the fucking truth to people. That's all people need to do. When we're begging for you to buy tickets to this movie, not because I need to fucking register my cash register, because this is a fucking movie that's going to make you do something. And if you don't go see this movie, the big wigs up top are going to pull it and say, ha, see, nobody wants to watch conservative movies because you fucking people ain't going to watch it. This is the opportunity. Nobody who goes to the movies anymore. I can't tell you I used to love the movies, but then you watch a movie halfway through, after you spent all your money on popcorn, the movie, your taxi, your Uber, they pull some bullshit, woke bullshit, whatever. Some guy puts his finger in another guy's ass, irrelevant from the fucking film, whatever it is. I'm being a little facetious here, but you understand. This is now the opportunity. Josh is laughing. To change the course of the fucking movie situation here. Isn't it what you want, people? Or are you going to just keep giving up?
Yeah, so it's kind of like Warren Buffett, right? Buying the railroad tracks across the country. It's something that's out of date. We're trying to put people in theaters here. Well, what is the next step, Chris? And either Chris or Josh, either one of you can talk about that. What is the next step here? We're trying to sell out theaters here for the first week. What's the last day? What are the numbers so far? Go ahead.
So look, we've had a lot of shenanigans happen. Example, movie theaters selling out and then not having the show the next day. So when you're up against her, and again, I want to thank AMC, Cinemark, Regal for having the balls to allow us to have I'm doing the whole spiel. But still, if a theater sells out, and by the way, let's just say Staten Island. Staten Island was supposed to have one show a night in Regal and in Atrium. Because of the demand of pre-purchases, they had 4 shows on Thursday.
Wow.
And those shows sold out. Okay. So you would think Atrium kept it. They're still going. I already got confirmation. Atrium gave us another week. We're going to next week in Atrium, just so you know. So you would think common sense that if Regal sold out 4 shows, hey, we're partners. That's the deal with the movie business. You guys get half, we get half. Let's stay. Well, we got dropped because there was other movies that studios had deals with that were coming in and needed to take up the space because they only had a certain amount of theaters. Yeah, but you know what? Don't give them 4 screens. Give them 3 and leave us in 1. It's very simple. And my sales guy, if he sees this, is probably going to get mad because he has relationships for 20 years with those guys. But honestly, I don't give a fuck no more. And I'm so disgusted with this that there was, I spent tens of thousands of dollars on movie posters that weren't put up in theaters. There's a lot there. Theaters, fire alarms were being pulled and people getting reimbursed their money back. Screens, power getting shut off in movie theaters, several of them. So how do you combat that? Well, 160 as it sits today, 160 screens exist, and they're in very conservative areas. So if any conservatives with deep pockets, we have a woman, you saw the video, she went and bought out. Didn't mean nothing to her. She went and bought out, said, I'm buying the whole thing. Go out and be that kind of patriot. Go be that kind of person, and let's send the message back. Because I gotta believe in a country with 375 million people, 380, there's got to be 1 million of us conservatives who can make a stand right here and basically back this movement. It's about the movement. We're going to keep doing this. We have other projects with these guys. I got things going lined up. There's other things we're going to be doing. And get your asses to fandango.com and get your asses to Rotten Tomatoes and give reviews. Put the reviews there. Keep us at that 97, 98% because that's the top of the echelon. We're number 1 right now. You won't hear about it, but go and review. Bad Boys is 92, 93% or 94. We're doing better than Bad Boys. A guy can get on stage and slap another human being in the face and get away with it and be forgiven. And here we got a guy who's breaking his fucking life to support us and our patriotic movement. And we're dealing with all these obstacles. That's the problem with America.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Some comments?
No, I'm just nodding at everything Josh said it so perfectly. That's it. We've got a window here, and we need some people to recognize what's happening, that people want this movie, and that they can help get this thing continue to be seen.
And ultimately, I think, Scott, you with your art across the nation, you're obviously, and you mentioned it throughout the show, this is about unifying people under the flag. That's not partisan, right? That's not one side of the aisle or the other. I mean, any president of the United States should be applauding this movie, Joe Biden, right? Regardless of their political affiliation. And I think, Scott, that's one of the beauties of your artwork is that you are attempting to bridge that divide that mainstream media has created for us. Go ahead and comment on that. But Josh, I want to get Josh. Is it Josh or Joshua? I want to get back to some of these strings from above. Is it a cultural thing, or are there positions, chairs that are being occupied in Hollywood that are purposely trying to squash this down? So, Scott, a comment from you, and then Josh, if you'd pick up on that. Go ahead, Scott.
If you could see this painting behind me, I don't know, can you see that?
It's beautiful. I see it.
Okay, that's everything in a nutshell. I've done a million paintings of the flag in very different ways, the way I see it, the way just whatever. But this is one of my favorite pieces because it's exactly, I've always wanted to do this, and I did it recently, one of my newest pieces. But this is how I see America. This is how it's supposed to be. See, it's wild and abstract and free-flowing. And then it's disciplined, conservative, conformed. That's what we are. That's what we were. But now it's split. It's supposed to be that. That's what we are. But the radical left, I told you, took it to the moon. And the media and the big tech corps to divide and separate us. We're supposed to have this. And they said, no. I'm an 80s boy. I grew up in the 80s, partied with everybody, went to gay bars to support my gay friends. I ran this bar in Staten Island in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Black, white, Jew, Muslim, old, young, transvestites. It wasn't a gay bar, but we allowed transvestites in because no other bars did. And we all got the fuck along. We made fun of each other. I was the token greaseball. You know, everybody was we made fun of each other and we loved each other. And then these sons of bitches came and said, no, we can't have this unity. We can't have this. The white man is oppressing the black man. The straight man is oppressing the gay man. And we had it already. It's not like it's 1940 or 20 and we're trying to get there. Slavery in the 60s with that disgusting shit we had, racism. And these people use the word racism like it's the word the. It's a very powerful, meaningful, important, ugly word. And the left and the media destroy it. They split us the fuck away from each other. And it's so, you know why? And once again, because we let it fucking happen. Because we said, oh, well, I'm afraid to be labeled something. So I'm not going to open my mouth. Fuck you. Fuck you. Open your mouth. People, if there's anything else you get out of this movie, it's never be afraid of what somebody's going to call you. A word. You know who you are. You're not a racist. You're not a homophobe. It's just mind-blowing. But here's the opportunity to fix the fucker.
Yeah, well said.
I get aggravated.
Yeah, one of my great friends from Miami Beach was a Jew, a homosexual Jew. So I hear exactly what you're talking about, Scott. Josh, go ahead and talk. How? First of all, I was surprised to see a patriotic movie like this. I got introduced to Chris a few months ago by a contact of mine in Florida, but I was surprised to see a movie like this make it to these large cinematic experiences. How did you do that, Josh?
We did so well. First of all, when we went to Mar-a-Lago, to see, we had 22 billionaires there. A lot of people didn't know that. We had very wealthy people there. To see a different group of people respond to the movie the way that it did. I knew when we saw it, we had a shot making it theatrical. These are the things I said to these guys here. Because when it got to me, it was, hey, this could be a streamer. It's a streaming movie. And easily we thought, yeah, it could be. But the thing that got to me was, I felt that if all the patriotic people that are getting tired and sick of all the shit that they're being shoved down their throat saw this, that we can have a movement happen at theaters. I know Sound of Freedom, they did some tactics and things to get people to theaters. And I wanted to capture the Patriots organically. And I thought we had a fair chance there. I thought if all the Donald Trump supporters and all the MAGA guys and all the guys that were really right realized that, hey, this was in the marketplace, we had a handbook to teach people the right things. And it was a no-brainer. The movie is good. Not because I got my hands in it or anything. The movie is a very good film. And it is one of, if not the best documentaries I ever seen. Every documentary, I'm not a Michael Moore fan, but Fahrenheit 9/11, it was during that time. And it did very well because he released it at a time appropriate time. Bowling for Columbine was during that time. Well, now patriotism is needed at a time where the country, the world, if the United States falls, the rest of the world falls. That's it. And people don't realize that. Our Second Amendment is holding the world together right now. That's a fact. While we save the First Amendment and all we want to do, the Second Amendment is holding the world together. Because if that goes, the world falls. That's a fact. And these kind of projects, the one that we're involved in now, being the first, are the most important. We need people. We need Ian, your guys, to go and get in the theaters. We need your guys to go and put the reviews in at these places to show that, hey, people are paying attention. This matters. It matters to people. Not a washed up actor who's slapping people on stages of Oscars and people are giving him props.
Okay, so let's zero in
Can
here.
I
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, Ian. Just really quickly, there's whoever's listening might be going, well, how do I know what those theaters are? So the way to find out what theaters that we're still playing at, you would have to go to scottlobaido.com, SCOTTLOBAIDO.com, and we have a list of all the theaters that are still playing our film. scottlobaido.com. You can see that list there. You can scroll down and see, okay, what's the closest city? Even if you're nowhere close, buy a ticket, buy a block of tickets, just, to support, or take a group of patriots to go see the movie. You can also Google the film and some might show up that way, or you can go to fandango.com and put in your zip code and the theaters will show up that way.
Yeah, thanks. And one other thing I like about the three of you guys is your humility. You just love your country and what it stands for. Okay, so zeroing, I don't know where Josh went, but I want Josh. What are the numbers? And maybe Scott and Chris, you know this. What are the numbers from the epicenter of the liberal media machine, in my view, which is the socialist propaganda machine that's born and functioning out of Hollywood? How many people did we get to see? How many people saw the movie in Hollywood, Josh?
We were doing very well on the Thursday here. I believe we had several theaters sell out, but we just didn't get the chance. And again, I don't want my sales agent. I'm very appreciative that those theater chains gave us a chance. I just didn't like not having the opportunity to get a full run. I believe if we got a full run in the top markets, I believe we'd be competing with some pretty big movies in the documentary space all time. I really believe that. And again, I knew the shenanigans were going to happen, and the only way that Ian, we should have did it. We should be doing a lot better. We should have hundreds of thousands, if not a million, tickets sold, and we're not. We're a fraction of that, and we need to get that up. And once we do, then there's nothing they can do about it. We have 160 screens until Thursday. We have a list coming that I'll get over to Scott so he can put on our website and we also have, besides scottlobaido.com, we have the relentlesspatriot.com, which could guide you to scottlobaido.com. But we'll get those lists put up, and basically we need to sell out. And then, just so others know, after this, we get through this portion, we have streaming people reaching out to us. And we'll get a deal going. But, let's crawl, walk, and run, and not just get to running is my motto.
So it sounds like the theaters are still the best medium to get the message out, is in the actual theaters, rather than making a deal with Netflix or one of these online streaming. Is that correct?
Right now it is. And we're in talks already. Okay. So we will get to that point. But I'm a fighter. I'm in the middle of the fight. I'm not going to throw the towel in the middle of the fight to get to the next fight. I want to now see if we can still, us Italians, Rocky Marciano was a hell of a fighter, and he wasn't the biggest guy, but he had a hell of a right and a hell of a left. And it got him a lot of wins late in fights that people thought he wasn't going to win. I'd like to give ourselves a puncher's chance to see if we can still make some noise in 160 screens. Chris saying symbolism, symbolic. I believe in my heart that we needed this to happen to get to this point, because now we're talking to guys like you and other patriots like the Scott McKays from the Street Warrior and all those guys that are now going to the real hardcore American patriots that are fighting every day to really make it known that change is needed to happen. So here we are, and God willing, we're blessed to pull this off.
Yeah, it's grassroots. Go ahead.
Wait.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
It's only because of the hat, Chris. Only because you're. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I work for the show. No, but Josh says a lot of good things, and Scott also gets my mind going. And I just wanted to say that when you go to the theater and you watch this film with other people, something really magical happens, because you can see the other people responding, and you know that you're not alone in the things that you believe, because you could feel the tears, and when Scott does something, for the flag, people are shouting out. When there's a moment in the movie where it says, where Scott says, the people in the Midwest, the people in the middle of the country are not going to take it anymore. And then you hear somebody yell out, "Yes, that's right." And then, at the end of the movie, when everyone stands up, when does that ever happen anymore? So there's something really special about seeing it in the theaters. It's really gonna galvanize this country, and that's why we're really pushing our theatrical. We have one more week.
Chris, who are some of the people that have reached out to you, or Scott, or the team? Who's reached out to you and said, "Thanks for doing this," and that has surprised you? Can you mention some people that have done that to you?
Well, I'm overwhelmed. Like, as I sit here, all the comments are coming in on Instagram and YouTube, and I'm getting text messages. It's been happening since we released. I mean, it's all the same thing. I loved it. The best documentary I've ever seen. I laughed. I cried. It's the same messages over and over again, and no one is sending stuff like, it was okay, I had the problem with it. None of that. Just like across the board, it's 100% positive. We know the people that are messing with us. That's quite obvious. They didn't see the movie. I guarantee it. But all the continuous messages that come in, people should be very pissed off that something is keeping this from them.
That's a good point, Chris. I'm glad you said. Once again, you can't say anything on social media. You're being oppressed, because your freedom. Now they're not allowing you to go see this movie that you want to see. Chris, you nailed it. You should be fucking pissed off that this is a movie of patriotism and inspiration that can help fix this country, not alone, but a big player. And they're not allowing you to go see it. Now, I want to respond to what you said, Ian, about who's inspired by this movie and messages that we've gotten. What I've noticed, even since we've been screening it in different variations for the last 2 years, Chris, people have brought their children. And let me start off with this. I heard something on the news today. I'm not going to mention the big conservative news channel that I heard it on, because I'm real pissed with them. And I'm holding my fucking tongue right now for a little while. But they were talking about children and patriotism today, and how maybe we should get them to, military service after the school or whatever and everything, which is something I agree with. But here I am listening to this, and every child, 14, Drea Mattea took her 2 kids, 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. Okay. And I was like, because I curse, I smoke. And after they saw the movie, these 2 kids were more obsessed with me than Drea was, and she's obsessed with me. They were obsessed. I talked to her 2 days later. She goes, they're still telling their friends about this movie. See, This is where children will get that message of how to be patriotic. This movie is going to make that happen. It's that simple. Sure, we're not talking about how do we get these kids. You get them to the movie theater because they have to shut their fucking phones off. If they're home watching something on streaming or something, they still got their phones. They ain't watching the movie. Parents can drag them to the movie. Their phones have to be off. They're going to learn how to respect this country, how to respect the flag, and still live as crazy and free and liberal or radical as they want. But it's going to teach them to understand why they can be that way and how to respect that flag and those men and women who died in a filthy foxhole for them.
All right, I want to introduce you to. Go ahead, Chris. Go. No,
sorry.
Chris, you're making this a habit, Chris. You're making it a habit. Listen, before Chris talks, the greatest thing I heard ever was President Trump say to Scott and I on the stage, I got to see this movie and it's fantastic. So, I sent you the clip. I think you're on the text thread. If I didn't, I'll send it to you again. We had a standing ovation in South Florida. Scott, first of all, I played a trick on Scott in Texas. I couldn't make that event, but I had a 99-year-old guy named Don Graves sing the national anthem. And Scott couldn't even speak. He actually was emotional, as I knew he would get. Standing ovation. You had military Marines bringing their 12, 13-year-old daughters, as Scott said, to that event. And on the way out, people were saying, sorry about the language. They said, no, the message was more strong than the language. You need, every time he drops an F-bomb in this movie, it was needed. It was needed. There was a significant part where, boom, it needed to happen. So I am loving the reactions, and from your viewers, guys, get to Fandango, put reviews, positive reviews, especially if you've seen the movie and you love it, and also Rotten Tomatoes as well.
Chris, go ahead.
I was gonna tell a quick little funny story. Is that we had our premiere in New York City here. Josh got us a venue, the New York Times Theater, ironically, which is pretty funny because Scott slams the New York Times three times in the movie. But I was going to get my outfit for the premiere, and because I spent so much time making this movie, very little time I had to get my whatever I was going to wear. So I went to the department store, and this guy helped me, get my outfit, and he's very, very gay, very a model or something, and he was helping me, and I told him, this was my. I need something to wear for my premiere. And he said, are you the director? And I said, yeah. And I was telling him, and this is in the middle of New York City, I was telling him about the movie and Scott and what's it about. And I said, look, and he's like, I'll go see it. But I was so nervous. And because I said, look, I have to tell you, this is a little conservative, this movie. I don't know if you'll like it. And I said, we screened it at Mar-a-Lago, for President Trump. But he was so interested. He kept asking. And the thing that, he bought tickets to go see it at 42nd Street with a bunch of people. And the thing that he said that I remember very well is that he said, I'm going to go see this because I love stuff that pushes people's buttons. And he said, you just don't get that anymore. He's as a gay man, he was telling me everything I see is so safe. No one's afraid to take any chances. So he said, I'm going to bring my friends because I want to see something, even if it's on the other side. I want to see it because I like that kind of stuff that you don't get it. It's everything is so safe. And so our movie is not.
That's awesome.
If you live in a safe space, do not go see this movie. It's very raw and in your face. Yeah. There is no safe space bullshit.
And look, Scott, I like the F-bombs. That's what I know about many New Yorkers, and that's why I like New Yorkers, because they just deliver it the way they see it. I want to introduce you real quick. I got on the line here on the phone to a woman named Carrie, and she's going to tell you how the movie affected her. This is an important message for you to get. So, Carrie, go for it. Tell Scott, Chris, and Joshua how the movie affected you.
fighting here in Montana for years to bring back integrity to our elections. It's not sexy to talk about election fraud in some circles, but they're categorically stealing our state away from the conservatives here. And people are letting it happen because they think, oh, we're a red state, it's okay, we're fine. They're very complacent. And I've been trying to light fires, and we've had just coming up against a government that ignores us. They don't really fight us like they do in other states with lawfare. They just ignore us, and they will break the law to ignore us by not answering FOIAs, etc. And so the people that I have been able to rile up over the years and get involved are sort of going back to sleep because they think, what's the use? From this movie, we got a set of candidates, would-be legislators, both from the state and federal level, that know that there was hanky-panky with their recent primary election, and they're stirred up now to take action and join forces and give a new, revived voice to all of the citizens of Montana that have been fighting for years to get things cleaned up before it's too late. And that is all thanks to this movie. So I just really thank you for that. And I mean, you have no idea. The words that I'm using are a huge understatement to what this movie has caused here in Montana. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I wanted to introduce that message to you because, as you would know, and as you're seeing, guys, your efforts echo and reverberate, and so we just continue pushing this needle forward. Chris,
no, that's amazing. I just exactly what you're saying. Like this movie will activate you if you look at how Scott operates. You want to operate like that in whatever you do in society, whatever your job is, even if you're just a parent, I mean, that's the hardest one, but whatever you do, if you work in politics, if you work in the arts, you do something. Don't be afraid, do something. That's Scott's message. And so, yes, we achieved our goal if that's what this woman is saying, if it's going to change people to not accept that you can steal elections. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Let's get some final thoughts and final words as we wind down. I appreciate the three of you joining the show. Just so you know, Scott and Josh, the podcast that I started in 2016 is called Discussions of Truth. And I'll get a couple hats and shirts out to you guys if you'd like that. But that's basically what I do with my time. As you can tell, it sounds like Scott McKay, something along the lines of similar to what he does is simply exposing the fraud that we are all living in many regards, of the misuse of our taxpayer dollars and whatever it may be. And by the way, Scott, one of my first reactions as I'm writing that review was, I want you to come to Montana and I want you to paint a flag local to this community. I mean, I think a lot of people would resonate with that. They want more of what you're doing on their local level. So, Scott, Josh, we'll start with you. Some closing comments and thoughts, and then we'll go to Chris, and then Chris will give Scott the final word here on this, because Scott, you're the guy that this is all about. So, Josh, we'll start with you. We go to Chris, and then wind it down with Scott.
Nothing makes me feel better than to hear a call that just came in that warms my heart, that this project is, if nothing else comes from this, it seems like something is happening in Montana. And if we believe in God, which I do, I pray on my hands and knees 3 times a day, then something occurred positive from this. Now, I pray to God that a domino effect happens and a lot of things transpire, because that's what the purpose of the movie is to cause positive reactions that makes us all better. And how that's going to happen is when it's in the theaters, buying tickets, when it's on stream, people watching it, putting reviews and showing that we have a positive movement here. I got the best partners in the world in this project. And I got a project that the Lord blessed me with, and I'm thankful every day for meeting these men and being a part of it. And I'm thankful for guys like you, the Scott McKays, we were on Laura Trump, we were on Sebastian Gorka, and all these podcasts that people are standing up and allowing us to express ourselves, Brandon Tatum, if you will. So I'm thankful and proud of all you guys as well.
Thank you, Chris.
I was just going to say that, when I decided to make this film, I knew that this was going to be a very risky decision for me. But again, I had to do it because many fought and died so that I can do this and say what I feel. As you know, I do know that by leaning into God, he will, catch me. And I don't know what his plan is for this film, and it appears that we have a fight still ahead of us to get this scene, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I know he will take it where this needs to be. But I hope that everything we've said will inspire people to help buy tickets and keep this in theaters so that so many people can see why it is so needed right now. That's it.
Yeah, and by the way, as viewers see this and they'll go on my website and they'll see this Brennan story. This is how Chris and I got connected. If somebody introduced me to Chris because of his directing experience, something that's possibly simmering on the background, exposing fraud behind John Brennan. But Scott, go ahead and give us your thoughts and some closing comments for viewers.
I obviously made a sacrifice for the last 30 years. Not as much as those who fought and died under that flag and still do today, but a sacrifice nevertheless. Sacrifice family, prosperity, blah, blah, blah. I'm not crying. I'm content. This is where I was supposed to be. This is God's direction he gave me to use my talent to fix something. And this country needs fixing. And I need you people to see the movie, The Relentless Patriot. But before or after you see my movie, after you see our movie, I saw something 30 years ago. I had a vision, not a prophecy. Again, just a vision as an artist and a patriot. That things can get really bad. And I don't think, back to the milk and honey, people realize how dangerous of a time we are in. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if this country does fall, and it will if we lose this election, because we have the enemy right at the door. It's no secret. China, Russia, Iran, you name it. You name it. Okay? I need people to see this movie called The Road. There's a book about it, too. But I love the movie. Called The Road. It's apocalyptic. It's about the end. They don't tell you what happens, but it's about survival. It's a guy with his child trying to save his kid, getting him the other side of the country. And it is devastating. It is a horrible movie. That you will shoot your brother in the back for that last can of food to feed your baby. You'll eat your neighbor's dog to survive. This is real. It's happened in places before, and it's close to happening here. So I just want people to understand how fucked we are, but how easy, and I'm going to teach you this in my fucking movie, how easy it is to fix it. Because if we lose it, I'm telling you, you're going to be eating your neighbor's dog.
And final thought and question I have, Scott, was when you started your activism back in the 90s, it sounds like, did you ever think that you'd be talking to a guy like Chris Martini or Joshua Macciello?
No, it is the greatest feeling in the world to finally have somebody back me up and believe in what I believe in. It's been years. I mean, even the conservatives and Republicans with all the money, I begged them. I said, use me. I'm your fighter. The art world is on the other side. I'm the only one you got. Use me. I don't want money for my pocket, but I need money for supplies, to get bailed out, to make a big giant banner, to do. And it was nothing, no one. And here I am, finally. Got these three great guys. Frank Trottier, Dan Carapresso, all Italians, by the way. Chris Martini and Joshua Macciello. Because they see what I see now. And they're backing me up, and that feels wonderful. So I thank them.
Well, you got my support, and you got the support, I suspect, of viewers and listeners. And we will keep fighting for the flag and the country. And together we march forward. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining Discussions of Truth.
Thank you so much for having us and letting our word get out, brother.
Thank you, Ian, for everything.